It's true that smaller, independent developers in Japan have struggled to achieve that same level of success as indie developers in the West. Over here, there are very few breakout hits along the lines of FTL or Hotline Miami. But James Milkey is looking to change that. As a former games journalist who's now working as a producer at Q Games, Milkey is the man behind BitSummit, an event in Kyoto designed to shine a spotlight on Japan's talented but often overlooked indie developers.
Because, let's face it, when it comes to games, it's not about being Japanese, American, or European. It's about creating great experiences for everyone. And that is why we work so hard for so little pay.
Today we're meeting up in Osaka, in the mecca of retro game shops known as Denden Town.
Denden Town is basically the Kansai area's equivalent of Akihabara. So the Kanto area is Tokyo and the northern part of Japan. Kansai is a bit more southwest. And in Kansai, it's stuff like, it includes Kyoto and Nara and Osaka. And Denden Town is actually in Osaka. This is one of the retro shops in Osaka. And it's basically where you go to find all your old school retro gaming. You know, you can find the newest games as well, but This is where you're going to find all the vintage stuff.
So it's kind of appropriate that we're comparing Aki to Denden Town because you're a guy who's worked for Q Entertainment in Tokyo and now Q Games in Kyoto. In your perspective, how do those cities compare? What's the way of life like in these two places, and how do you think that affects people's approach to game development?
Well, since I work in Kyoto, it's a much more laid-back city. It's much calmer. The buildings literally are lower. They don't get much more than like 5-6 stories high because it's because of the temples. They want to be able to see the temples. They want you to be able to see the mountain, the nature. So it's very, very interesting like that. Osaka is a lot more like Tokyo in that there's a lot of buildings and there's a lot of people.
A lot of neon lights.
A lot of neon lights. Tokyo is really hectic. It's really crowded. There's a lot of people. The trains are always packed. I think that sort of claustrophobia and that tension works its way into its games a lot. But I think you're still going to find cool action games, weird indie games coming from all parts of Japan, no matter where you are.
Now, Japanese developers that are sort of outside of the spotlight are kind of a big point of interest for you with BitSummit. Can you talk about, the idea behind BitSummit and what you want to do with that event?
Well, for BitSummit, it really was my goal and my dream to kind of unearth this indie community and kind of show them like, look, this is what they're doing in the West with indie games. This is like what Cappy Games does. This is what, check out Sword and Sorcery, check out Braid, check out Dear Esther, check out these really esoteric avant-garde games and just embrace your inner weirdo and just do what you want. And that's what we had like Karaoke-san from Tokyo Jungle and Crispies, like he was saying like, make the game you want and the audience will find it, and so we wanted to encourage that kind of spirit in Japanese gamers for them to rediscover what made Japanese games so interesting in the first place 20, 30 years ago. And I think moving forward, what we want to try and do is turn it into an event where developers are going to anticipate this event and start preparing very fresh, very new works. Just like we did yesterday with Amaya-san's Garo Blaster. That was like a world debut and it was really cool. But we'd like to have like 10 more of those next year.